Hi everyone, Agnes here. I have got today for you a meaningful work interview, and it's with Joanna. Hi Joanna.
Hi Agnes, thank you so much for having me on.
It's great to see you again, and this has been a little bit of time in the making. We had a fantastic discussion about meaningful work not long ago, and you are in a profession where you're going to be helping and giving to people. I'm not going to say what you're doing. I'll let you talk about that. So do you want to just start back at how this all began for you and what you're currently offering, giving people through your meaningful work?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for our discussion that we had, because it really shed new light into my current circumstance, my current situation, where essentially I started in my profession. So I'm a lawyer, and I started from very young because it was more of something that was looked at as something that I should be doing. So my dad wanted me to be a lawyer. So I think from a very young age, before I even knew what a lawyer was, I was there saying, when I grow up, I'm going to be a lawyer. And many people have similar experiences where they pursue careers because it's expected of them. And the wild mind tells us that in order to be successful, or in order to be loved and good girls or boys, then we need to follow the route that our parents tell us, or the route that society tells us, and that way everyone will be happy and we will be successful. So it didn't go quite as smoothly, but eventually I did study law. I qualified as a lawyer, but throughout that whole time, there was just something where I was like, this isn't it. There has to be more to life than just doing the pure, black letter law. And it can be a great profession. Some people really get enthusiastic, they're passionate about what they're doing. But for me, there was just like, there's something that I don't feel right here. There's something more, and I feel like I can be giving a lot more. So throughout my journey, I got into the law of attraction. I got into the fact that actually we're here to do more. There is more to us than just the 3D world. And of course, that's how I came across your work, and yes, with Neville, and knowing who we really are, living in the end, all of those sorts of things. And that's where I really started thinking about, okay, what is it that I would really love to do? How can I be in that space and feel like I am contributing more to the world? And that's when I started working a lot on my personal development, my own, working through my own traumas, my own past, but then also looking at what it is that I'm here to do. What would I really love to do? And I started working with coaches, wellness entrepreneurs, those in the more spiritual arena, to support them with building their businesses and making sure that they were supported in terms of the legalities and the more 3D foundations, so that they could really have that support and go off and build their businesses whilst having that knowledge that they have got the foundations in place.
Can you tell us what kind of law were you doing when you came out of law school? Like, what did you start with to transit into this?
So a lot of the areas that I have practiced law in are very traditional. So initially it was immigration law. And the reason why I chose immigration law was because I thought, okay, well, there's a lot of people that I can help if I'm doing immigration law. And that was great. But then I felt that there was only so far that you could help people with immigration law. And then I started doing a lot of public law, which again, I really enjoyed because it involved human rights and things like that. So it was a good area to sort of get the knowledge in. So I don't regret my knowledge and my experiences in any of those areas, because I still can help people currently. But I've done things like employment law, family law, what's other, like contract law. So yeah, there's a lot of different areas that I've had experience in. And I feel like, of course, as with everything, they've all given me a great experience and knowledge that I can now use to help people in an area that I actually enjoy helping them in.
And I do think for coaches and people working in the profession that I'm in, there's a lot of ways that you really need to take care of, especially on YouTube. Disclaimers, making sure your website has got certain things in place, and all of that. When you first hop into this industry, you can be quite naive about. So just having someone like you look over a website or look over the YouTube about page, because that's usually where you put that stuff, or at the end of every YouTube you need to put something to say, look, this is just my opinion, da da da, so that people don't come and have a go at you, and you didn't even know that you needed to put these things in place. I think this is what I think is so valuable to people within the coaching industry, is that you need to find out about what you don't know, and you need to put that into someone's hands that can really make it watertight for you, so you don't end up in trouble later down the track. So I think this is a really great thing that you've created. Yes, you can help in all those traditional areas too, but this area that is obviously a personal interest of yours, an industry of interest, that you can merge the two is such a wonderful thing. And I felt really excited when I spoke to you that day, because I thought, wow, I didn't even know that this is something you could specialize in. But there are so many coaches around the world. There'll be coaches watching this interview, and it doesn't matter where you are, you can do this type of work with people online.
100%. So I think from my experience, so I started my business around 5 years ago now, and the areas which I have really honed in on are things like, contract law, making sure that you've got those disclaimers in place, making sure that when you are serving clients, you're making sure that you're getting paid for it, even if there's things like payment plans, things like that. Also, a big area which has been, I think a lot more people are realizing, is things like copyright and trademark law, where they are creating their own programs or something unique, and just making sure that they are protecting their own interests. Disputes, those sorts of things, where when people initially start their business, of course, no one really wants to attract that sort of energy to them. So you don't have it in mind, but it's almost like making sure you've got the right foundation so that it doesn't happen, so that if something does crop up, you've got the right things there to deal with it at the time, rather than going into it and being like, oh no, I've now got the situation, what do I do? Yeah, for sure. And then you panic, and then you don't put your energies into your business. You're having to deal with this thing in the background. So I agree. Just that little bit of a conversation and someone to draft up certain things and say, put this here and put that there. Whew, I know I got myself into a situation with a publisher, and it was self-publishing, but it was, I just didn't know what I was doing back in 2009. And I ended up in something that took me years to untangle myself from. And it was a nightmare, because I didn't understand the potential harm of what I was signing, what I was doing. And luckily I had someone years later sort it all out, and someone who knew what they were doing. But yeah, it really caused so much stress, literally from total, well, in a way, ignorance, not in a negative way, but just ignorant about what I was doing at that time, and just not knowing the procedures and processes of how to go about things. So yeah, it's a really great thing when you're doing like publishing stuff, website stuff, any contracts, because you really have a contract too with YouTube. If you're using YouTube platform, Instagram, all these social media, you have to adhere to their certain rules and regulations, like you say, around copyright, around material that you say, music in the background, whatever it is. You've got to watch all of that, and you might learn the hard way, unfortunately. But if you can avoid that by watching a discussion like this and then coming to someone like you,
you know, a discussion can just give you so much relief. So have you got anything people can look at? You have got YouTube's up, which you and I have discussed, so
Yeah.
I will put a link to your YouTube channel so people can go and look at exactly some specific YouTubes on specific topics that you have.
Yep.
Have you got anywhere else people can go and read or find out about?
Absolutely. So I am on Facebook and Instagram as well. So on Instagram, I'm floreo.uk.
Yeah.
So that's FLOREO.uk.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook as well, it's Floreo.
Okay. I will put the links to that, how it's spelled, down below for those that want to go and check it out too.
Thank you.
So you're working from home and you're working obviously as people find you. And do you find it's more word of mouth, social media? How does it work in your industry? How do people find you?
So far, I have been very fortunate because a lot of my clients have come from referrals. So I've worked with many coaches now over the past 5 years, and it's just word of mouth. A lot of them refer me on to their friends or their clients. So it's been great. And I also meet a lot of new people when I go to events, or if I speak at events, things like that. So I've been very fortunate, and also, you know, intending that that's the way that I receive people that I can help.
Yeah, that's the way. There's nothing better than someone who's happy with your work to refer you. That just
absolutely.
is the best thing of all, isn't it? Yeah. No, that's terrific. And I think you're really in giving people relief. You're in the relief business, really, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting because some people avoid going to a lawyer because they feel like, oh no, you only go to a lawyer when you're like getting divorced, or if there's something wrong, that's when you go to a lawyer. And I'm like, no, you know, in my opinion, in my views are that you go to a lawyer to sort of just check things, and you know, it's almost like having that foundation of your house before you actually start building it, because you want to make sure that, you know, you've got the windows, you've got the doors, you've got everything secure before you actually start building it. And that way, you know that if it's going to rain, you've got a roof over your head, sort of thing.
That's so true. It's amazing the relief it gives you to get those things right. Like, you know, I've had people that have started YouTube channels, you know, that I say I've coached them, and then years on, they've gone into this industry and all of that. And one of the things I always say, you know, if you're going to start YouTube or you're going to start a website, you must get this right. And you must find somebody that will write it for you, double check it, knows how all this operates, because it's like you've got to adhere to the terms and conditions of, well, for YouTube, it's Google, or for, you know, you need to know, or well, you don't need to know, but the person that you're hiring needs to actually know how these systems work. And that's still really only probably 20 or so years old. So all the lawyers like you have had to learn about all these things to be able to advise people like me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find that as well. I mean, there's a very big presence of business coaches out there who are teaching, okay, you need to get your funnels up. You need to make sure that you're reaching out to people on these different avenues. But then it's like, even with like funnels, things like making sure you've got your data protection things covered, making sure that you know what you can say when you're serving clients, or when you're even on a live, all those sorts of things, where it's almost like it comes as an afterthought rather than being right at the forefront.
That's true. That's true. And the more you go on in a business, the more there is at stake, because you've got more content, more videos, more courses, more books, more this, more that. And and it's your livelihood. So yes, I do think it's protecting yourself. And also I think creative people often are not good at this stuff, and they don't put the attention on finding out about this. I know a lot of creative people that it's like this is just not even in their psyche. So
Yeah.
you know, if you are creative and you are in a creative business, this conversation will be one that they won't want to miss, because this is the difference between having a massive headache that goes on for years, like it did with me and the publisher, and then, you know, not having to deal with any of that, because you're like you say, you've built the foundation, it's watertight. So even if something comes, you've got things in place to be able to deal with it. So that's a big relief. That's a big relief. So is there anything else you wanted to mention, or anything else you think's relevant?
So I suppose it's just really, if people are in that space where they are, you know, starting a business or they're already in a business, it's just making sure that they are looking at it from all angles. It's almost like when you're committed to building a business, like, do it properly. Don't be afraid of certain things where you think, oh, I'll just avoid that so that I don't attract it to me. And that is a common thing that some people think of. They're like, well, if I focus on, you know, that sort of energy, that's what I'm going to bring to me. And in my experience, that's not it at all. It's almost like giving yourself that. It's almost like the insurance, the protection, and saying, well, you know what, I know that I've got a key and I'm going to lock my front door, rather than leaving it unlocked and saying, okay, I'm not attracting any thieves or any unwanted people to come in, so it's all fine. It's just really about looking at it holistically, and just putting things in place for your own peace of mind, really.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, when you're running a business and there's so many moving parts, to have the ability to have that bit sorted so that you can do the front part, the front end of things without distraction, I think that's really, it is absolute gold. It is absolute gold, because I know when I was dealing with all that publishing stuff, it was upsetting me. It was making me feel all sorts of negative emotions. So that energy wasn't good for the business at that time. And you know, obviously you do your best, but if I had put things in place properly in the beginning, I could have avoided that 2 years. And now I know that I won't ever do that again. So it's a real peace of mind thing. Like you say, it gives you relief. You know that you're covered, you know that you've done things properly. And I think it's as important as the content. Well, in a way, you can't do the content properly until you've got that stuff sorted, really.
You're
you're out in the world and you're vulnerable to all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, good. Wonderful. I'm excited to see as this unfolds for you more and more and more. And just, it's so wonderful to meet people that are in a giving, being of service to others business, and that is how they earn their income. I think that there are more and more of us in lots of different fields that do that. And it is a really rewarding thing to be able to go to bed at night and to know that you've helped somebody, or that you've helped a few people that day, and that, you know, the income that you've earned to feed your family, or to, you know, pay your mortgage, or to buy your food, has come from being of service. I think that is such a satisfying thing. You're not just making money doing something you don't enjoy and you don't like, and for a company that you're not interested in. This is for you, and it's fabulous. It's so wonderful waking up in the morning and knowing you do that. It's great.
Absolutely. And it's that feeling of you're giving in a place of gratitude, because you feel so, you know, you feel so happy and so grateful that you can give and share with others, and you know that it's actually adding value to them as well.
Exactly. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for coming and talking about that. I think this is, you know, because there's so many people go, I need to go to a lawyer, but I don't need, what lawyer do I need? And how do I find someone for this industry? Are they going to understand what I'm even talking about? So it's so wonderful that this is specific to the people in this well-being industry, really. Yes, you do the other things you mentioned, and that's still a part of your portfolio of skills, but this is where you're really interested in. And it's an industry that you are, well, you've got a foot in that industry for your personal self and your personal work. So it's it's two halves of the nut coming together, which is wonderful.
Yeah,
so thank
absolutely.
you, Joanna. I will put everything down below, everyone, for how to contact Joanna, and in whatever country you're in, she can help you online. So lots of love, everyone, and I will see you in the next YouTube. Joanna, you stay on and we will say bye in private.